Welcome back. Chapter 15, the final chapter, so to speak, at least for this series here. Um, and so in chapter 15, we're going to be talking about leading change, specifically a leader, not just leading an organization that's doing well, but how to reform a organization, or how to change an organization, how to improve an organization going through transformation who needs that creative, dynamic leader who's going to take them to that new place. Using those visions, using those goal sets can really help to lead an organization, not just one that's established, but to new horizons. And so we're going to talk about really a lot of creativity in leadership. How do we encourage creativity, not only in the leader, but in the teams? We've already established, looking at the other things, how important our teams are and the people that we work with and what they bring to the table. So we're going to be talking about enriching it that way. So the book will talk about how organizations thrive and survive, and a lot of that is through change. Now, I get it. Change is scary. People don't want to change. People are distressed with change, but realistically, the world is changing, and we have got to change with it. We have to be okay with change. So we as leaders have to be okay with the change. We have to embrace, be able to look at it as an exciting place and bring that to the workplace and the people we work with, and really tap into the talents and the skills and all the great stuff that they bring forward as well. One approach to leading change is having what's called an appreciation inquiry. And that's a technique for leading change that engages and reinforces the positive messages by focusing on learning for success. So it encourages learning, it encourages development. It doesn't fear things like failure. Um, in a totality, it does. Obviously, nobody wants to fail. But one of the things that we want to encourage is that if we're going to fail fast and get through it. That failure, and reframing failure as opportunities to look at things. So not setting yourself up that you put all those eggs in the basket, but let's test the waters. Let's see what's out there. Let's try this. Let's try that. And trying new things. So obviously wanting that guaranteed success holds us back from that sometimes. So being open and willing to take that risk, and that risk taking, at least calculated risks in our organizations, and preparing an organization for change. Now, showing you the text hasn't related really well, but on page 463, and I'm going to go through this, you'll see a little flow chart, kind of like a little rainbow. There you go, your little rainbow. And in case you're on other pages. And I really like that chart. I really do, as it talks about the 8-stage model with regards to a planned organizational change. We're taking this organization through a change, and how are we going to do that as leaders of that organization? And the first thing it does is it talks about establishing a sense of urgency. You have to get the point across to the people of that we have to change, why we have to change, and why we have to do it now. Because people will delay change forever. You will find 1,000 reasons why they don't have to do it, why it's not that bad, and that it can lead to tragedy. So they really have to embrace that, establish a sense of urgency, and establish that in a clear and concise manner with everyone. Moving then, you want to form a powerful guiding coalition. These are your leaders. These are the people that are going to help you. You can't do it alone. You need to gather the other people that are going to be able to reinforce that message and be a team with you to help everyone, because people will try to isolate that person. That guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So how do we get that whole team taking up that momentum, moving in that positive direction? The third is to develop a compelling vision and strategy. What is it going to look like, and how are we going to do it? And making sure that people get it, they understand it, and they hear it over and over and over and over in as many different ways as you can tell it, with as many different people who can tell it. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Make it make sense to me. Make it something I can touch and hold on to and grasp. Fourth is to communicate the vision widely. I guess I kind of tapped into that already. Tell anyone and everyone that will hear you. Tell it over and over again. Tell it in as many different ways as you can tell it, until it really becomes part of that culture, which we already established in the last chapter. The fifth, is to empower the employees to act on the vision, changing that culture and listening to their ideas and finding ways to act on those new ideas and move the whole company in that direction and reinforce those ideas when they do it. Sixth is to generate short-term wins. Celebrate those little successes. We're this far along. We've accomplished this thing. Some goals can seem so far out there that I'll never get there. There's no way I can possibly. We have to celebrate as we move in that direction. We have to reward ourselves for the work we have to do. We have to reinforce ourselves that we are going in that right direction. And we have to maintain a positive and embracing and comfortable environment. And so if everything is so far out there I can never reach it, eventually it's just exhausting. You can't do it anymore. And it feels like it's unobtainable. So celebrating those smaller things and really making sure that you don't lose your people along the way. A lot of positive engagement in that culture and moving in that direction. Some goals may take a very long time to achieve. Keep up the sense of urgency and tackle bigger problems. When those problems come up, don't ignore them. Make sure that you're addressing them. Make sure that you're looking at them. Make sure that you're aware of the environment and the things that are changing that could affect you on moving towards your goals. And don't get lax. So often people set their strategic plan and they're all excited, and 6 months later they have lost track and went right back to the same old grind they've always done. So you have to maintain that. You have to find reminders. You have to have check-ins. You have to set yourself up, and you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable as a leader in order to make other people accountable to do those kind of things. So what are you doing to make sure that you don't just fall back into those old patterns? We all do it. I do it. But how do you keep it up so that that doesn't happen? And finally, to make the changes stick. Again, easy to fall back. Easy. It is. We all do it. But how do I make those changes? How do I embrace those changes? And how do I ensure that I don't sabotage myself or allow other people or other things to sabotage our goals? So that's kind of a really neat chart. I like it. It's something you might want to even look at and in your own organization or your own teams when you're looking for a change and what that change is and how you might accomplish it. A couple other quick points in this chapter. Is it does talk about that leader, the transformational leader, in things that in ways that which they can do that in your book, and it talks about 4 areas in which they do that. One is discovery, and that is basically, this is similar to your strategic plan we talked about in 4170, but a little bit different, a different spin on things. And so discovery, as your book defines it, is defining what's good about us. What are we good at? What are our strengths? And remember, we look both internally and externally, both what we accomplish and who we are. Some of your best talents, again, are people and ideas, and they're not the tangible things that we touch all the time. The second is the dream. This is what we are. This is what we could be. This is what we would hope would happen. Finally, the design. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do to get there? What are our goals? And again, making them concrete. In 2 weeks, in a month, in 6 months, in a year, and check-in points and accountability for that. And finally, the destiny, and that's the action steps in the movement. That's how we're going to do it, and we're going to get started. One foot in front of the other. That's how we get started. When you have a company going through those things, it's important that the company practice the innovation and the creativity. They need to practice it all the time. It can't just be one huge change where we don't embrace creativity within the day-to-day operations. You have to embrace it as a corporation in order to project it into the future as well. What are the tools that you'll need in order to be successful with this? One of them is communication and the right tools and the right training. Does everybody know what's going on? Are we communicating to them? Are they getting the messages? Are they understanding the messages? Are they being reinforced? And are we using all the tools that we have available to do so? We all work through different chains of communications. Second is participation and involvement. You can't just talk the talk. You better be ready to walk the walk. You can't tell people to change if you're not willing to change yourself. Coercion, manipulation, if you have to. If you have to push people a little bit, you have to push people a little bit. Not in a mean, hostile way, but sometimes people need a little bit more encouragement. We like to do what we've always done. We don't want to change. We're afraid of change. So some people will need a little bit more coaxing. And remember, when we talk about change, oftentimes we're talking about growth, development, adding new things, but change can also be changing directions we're downsizing. So change is just doing it different than we've always done. So we may have always purchased these things, filled those things, done these things, and sometimes the question isn't just why. And I think why is an important question. Why are we doing it? But also, why not? What's not being done? What are we missing here? What else could be done? Why has this been missed? All right. Sorry again I couldn't be there in class, but hopefully you found these reinforcing, and please check out the other video links I've put in the class for you. Join us in discussions, and thanks again. I look forward to seeing you either Wednesday or next week. If you have any questions at all, you know where to find me. You can email me, you can call me, you can text me, and I'll be there for you. All right, see you next week. Have a great week, guys.